I call the member for Baulkham Hills.
Mr Assistant Speaker, I acknowledge that this petition and certainly understand that there's a lot of emotion around this debate, but what we've just seen from the member for Fairfield is gold-plated hypocrisy. Gold-plated hypocrisy. This member, as the Shadow Minister for Veterans Affairs, spent an entire year neglecting veterans. He did not ask one question about veteran welfare. He did not ask one... He did not ask, and I say that, Mr Acting Speaker, I make that point because if you won't stop interrupting, I will finish. I say that, Mr Acting Speaker,
Minister, members of the opposition, if you wish to remain in the chamber, you will remain quiet.
I make that point, Mr Assistant Speaker, because he's using these teachers to make a political point. What he didn't talk about was Labor's record in privatisation. What he didn't talk about is how the Labor Party for 16 years here in New South Wales, the Labor Party in Canberra, were only too happy to privatise and outsource. The record of this party is
Just Minister, can you just hold? Can stop the clock, please?
The Labor Party's record...
Just Minister, just wait.
Standing Order 76, I ask that you draw the Minister back to the leave of the petition.
I haven't called you, member for Right, Minister, I ask you to turn to the leave of the petition and continue.
Certainly, Mr Acting Speaker. My point being is that the issue being raised by the Labor Party is not coming from an honourable place. Can I place on the record, Mr Acting Speaker, that the point that this reform is about the quality of work that teachers do in our correctional centres. They do a great job. Mr Acting Speaker, the problem is that we have the wrong model. Labor governments in other states have acknowledged that the model that we're using at the moment is wrong. A recent review has found that current education model in correctional centres was not sufficiently focused on literacy and numeracy. Let's not forget that this reform is about literacy and numeracy. This reform is about me and this government doubling the amount... This reform is about doubling the amount of prisoners that are doing literacy and numeracy courses, and you haven't heard one word from the Labor Party about an alternative policy. They know that interstate Labor governments are implementing this policy. Reducing the rate of reoffending, Mr Speaker, is crucial to safely integrating offenders back into the community and preventing them from returning to prisons. We must reduce reoffending to improve community safety, and that is the essence of this reform. Under the existing model, education in prison is not flexible. It cannot adapt to the individual needs of inmates in custody. It's important that the capacity to deliver year-round services in a prison. Mr Acting Speaker, this is not high school, this is adult education. And we need adults to implement the education policies. I'm not taking lectures from those opposite. Teachers currently, Mr Acting Speaker, teachers currently accrue 11 weeks a year holiday. That is not efficient of the hours that were potentially available to teachers in 2015.
Minister, I give a final warning to the members of the opposition. Right? You better restrain yourselves, or I'm just going to throw away. It won't be calls, they'll be out of the chamber. And I mean it. Minister.
Thank you, Mr Acting Speaker. Of the hours that were potentially available for teaching in 2015, only 62% were used. Only 62% were used. There have been negotiations with the Federation to increase teaching weeks per annum by teachers staggering their leave. Regardless of the way leave is scheduled, the full teaching load cannot be delivered. The new prison education model will provide more opportunities to learn and develop employment skills. It will more than double the number of inmates completing literacy to 1,840 per year. It will increase the number of inmates doing vocational training by 20%. It will deliver savings of $5 million per year to be redirected into programs. This is not a cost-saving measure. Mr Acting Speaker, we are doing what is consistent with the other Australian states, Labor states, like Victoria, like Queensland. We are moving from an in-house provider model to an outsourced model, something that the Labor Party are used to, but on this occasion they just don't want to listen. Teaching staff will not be clerks, has been suggested. They will have the necessary qualifications determined by the standards for registered training organisations like TAFE teachers do, like the RTOs that the unions are so happy to take money from. Corrective Services already uses TAFE and other external providers to deliver these programs.
Member for Fairfield. Minister.
Mr Acting Speaker, I recently announced $273 million to reduce reoffending. Can I get an extension, Mr.
Just finish that line, Minister, and I'll call the member for Kemba.
Mr Assistant Speaker, we've announced $273 million to reduce reoffending. This means that inmates in education have fallen over the last 3 years, and this will be addressed through this funding.
Call the member for Kemba.